Hi everybody and welcome back to our channel, All Things Autism and More. I'm here with Irene and Claire, and today we'd like to talk about nannies and the help or assists or whatever word you
House
use.
managers.
House managers, people who help you out in the raising of your child with autism, or your person with autism. And we believe, first of all, this is from feedback that we've received from you. So I want to thank you so much for engaging with the channel and want to encourage you to continue telling us, things that you think you might want us to discuss. So on the topic of nannies and helps, we know that these are people who enable us to leave our homes, go do work, and be able to afford all the things that come with autism or raising a child with special needs. So these are people who are very, very important and a reality for many of us in this journey of autism. So we're here to just share. We're not expert trainees or trainers. We just want to share and maybe learn from one another in our experiences in our different experiences. So I guess welcome, ladies, to the show.
Thank you, Patricia.
So, what has been your experience, or what experiences have you had that could be helpful for somebody who is trying to navigate how to maybe equip their help, or maybe somebody who is frustrated has tried several people and failed to zero down to that one person that can help them raise their child with special needs? What are your what experiences or ideas do you have? Maybe we'll start with you, Irene.
Okay, what experiences? I think I would start from the point of being honest from the onset, and introducing this nanny to your family and who they are, and what challenges you have with your special needs child, and what your expectations are, and also guiding them through it. Not expecting that you're just going to throw the chores at them and expect them to fly. You have to be able to walk the journey with them. So in my experience, I've had 3 consistent nannies. The others I'll not talk about. Of course, you also have to check the person and see, is this person the right fit for my family and for my child? Will this person also be able to create a bond with my children? And interestingly, you can tell from the onset whether this child has accepted this person or not. But also, in thinking that, you also have to understand where they're coming from. We all know where our nannies come from. Some of them have not gone so far in education. So what would seem to you as common sense may not be common sense to this person. So you also have to understand that and extend grace to them and teach them and help them learn. So what I'm saying is, you have to be you'll have to walk this person through what the expectations are. You'll also have to be patient with them, because they'll not get it from the word go. And then in the beginning, you'll have to put in a lot more effort, where maybe you're training them on the diets. Now, like in our homes, we have to avoid certain foods and prepare other foods. So I think those are the key areas that I would touch on and that have helped me. But that notwithstanding, I'll not say that it was a smooth ride. So that there's a time where you also have to be ready to let go. Especially if they've crossed certain boundaries that you cannot put up with. However much this person has loved your children and has been there for them, if they've crossed that boundary, you take that decision. It doesn't mean that that person leaving will be the end of your child. Because remember, we're also teaching flexibility in all this. They have to be able to adapt to changes that keep coming along. But you do not want those changes again to be very frequent, but they have to be able to adapt to them. So that has been my experience, and it has helped that I always engage them. I always guide them on what they need to do, and I also encourage them to teach the children, and not just my son Yona, but even every other child in the house, to teach them to be independent and do their own chores and not leave everything to them. Yeah, I think that is the long and short of what I can share for now. Maybe also Claire could.
Yeah, I think I will put it in this way. Much as I don't have a child with autism, but I'm a special needs parent and also an educator, I think I'll build on what you said about being honest with the help when they're coming. I think a lot of us tend to hide it, not declare honestly when we are getting, and yet these children have challenges, special needs that somebody needs to be able to handle. And so we have to be mindful when we are getting in somebody that we will from the onset tell them about the journey, about what you're doing or what your objectives are with your children and in raising them. But I think importantly for me, what I've learned and seen going in is grace, extending grace to these girls. Many of them at times are not mothers. They're young. They have different agendas, different objectives. And now for our children with special needs, autism and other neurodevelopmental challenges, they are challenging. Already for us as parents, we are challenged. Now imagine a young girl who has no association or connection to this child coming into your home and a child throws a tantrum, or a child is not potty trained at age 5 and they have to deal with that. I think we have to be gracious to these girls. Some people employ boys to the help in the home. So one, honesty. I have a 7-year-old, I have an 8-year-old or whatever who is like this. And I need you to come and support the child. I think that's one, in working with them and in selecting them. Be honest. We hide a lot. And then I think the other thing in getting girls to help is we ourselves. I think somebody on one of our shows has said it. We cannot give what we don't have. So if we ourselves are not accepting of that condition in our child, then how are we going to expect somebody to be accepting of that condition in the child? So we have to accept it and also equip ourselves with knowledge, because you're going to get this girl from Chabakade or from somewhere, Chamate, somewhere. They can hardly speak English, maybe. She doesn't have to know how to use the facilities. And now you're telling her the child cannot eat. We're giving them almond milk. Now, really, almond milk from Chabakade. So you have to be involved. So it's going to call on us, the parents, especially us, the mothers, to be involved, to be present and to train. The way you train somebody to switch on the TV, switch on the cooker, or clean the house, or take care of the house, even with the children, you have to equip them, teach them what they need to do. So you have to be present, much as we are working and, looking for whatever. I think a third thing would be the amount of chores. When we have special needs children, it's already expensive. There's therapy, there's X, there's Y. But you can't have one young lady, Nakato, Mbabazi, and she's not doing everything. She's not going to wake up to sweep, cook, clean, wash, iron, and look after the child. Grace, it is impossible. Even if they told you to do it, you would walk away from it all. So we have to manage. Is she looking after the child, especially in the earlier years? Is that their responsibility? And then somebody else will do the other chores, maybe. Or you don't focus too much on the other things. The house is not clean. What were you doing the whole day? Extend grace, because we know that the children have challenges and not every day is the same. Some days they'll do well, some days they are off. I think those are important things to manage that. Also, how do we remunerate them? How do we, because these are challenging children. You're going to pay the therapist 500,000 a month. You're going to pay for, I don't know what, this medicine. Then this young lady comes and you give her 70,000. It is going to be hard for her to stay. After 1 month, she's going to tell you, Auntie Bampi Seika. But Mama Gambi Nzideyo. Or she'll just pack up her things and leave your child in the house alone. So we have to manage that. Also, how do you give them time off? Because I think what happens when you find a good maid, you're like, oh, relief. You hand over the child to them. You never come into even her, give her some relief and respite. They will get tired and go. So it's very important that we allow them to also have a life. What am I saying? Don't be too dependent on them. Let the child also not be too dependent on them. I think then we find a balance, because we do need the help. It's exhausting for one person to carry mommy, daddy. If you have a support person, it is helpful, I think. And even those that have relatives, I'm now jumping. Those that have relatives, an aunt, a sister, a cousin, supporting you with these children with special needs, very important to give them a kasimo, because it is not an easy thing for these children. But ultimately, I think the important thing for me, I would say, is let the child be independent as much as possible. So in all that you're doing, even with the maid, teach them to teach the child to feed themselves, not to do, because they can become a crutch for both you, the parent, and also for the child. Child doesn't get skills. You as the parent, you also cannot live without this other person.
That's true.
So very important. Yeah, I think I've overtalked, but yes.
No, it's been helpful. Actually, you've helped me figure out how to bring my own experience into all of this.
Yes.
And what I kept thinking, what kept going on in my head was, in order for me to have a nanny in my house, you have to fit into my culture, my
Your home
home culture.
Yes.
I learned that the hard way, because sometimes what happens is that we get help or people who come into our home to help us out, and we expect them to know what to do.
Exactly.
Or we think, and this stretches obviously far beyond just a child of special needs. This is home management, all these things. If somebody comes into the home, they are foreign to us. They don't know you. They don't know how you want your things done. They don't know they don't know the nutrition aspects that you are talking about. What food do you eat? What don't you eat? It is your job to teach them. Because remember, they are assisting you.
That's it.
Having a child with special needs is expensive. Like, we are not going to beat about the bush. It's expensive. And being able to work, or for me, I think it's a privilege. It's an opportunity for me to have a sense of self outside of my home.
Yes.
If I'm able to work, if I'm able to go study. So these people are helping me to live. That is the privilege that I have by having them. Because let's be honest, not everybody is going to be able to afford help. Some people are homebound because they have to look after their children themselves.
Yes.
And because it's expensive, like you've said, and rightfully so, you shouldn't be paying someone peanuts for looking after your treasure, which is your children.
Very true.
You shouldn't be. It's not right. Like, charity begins at home. Why would you do such a thing? I think even before you go into therapy and stuff, your home situation has to be in order, so to speak.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how much therapy you're going to get. It doesn't matter how many doctors you're going to visit. If things are not in balance at home, nothing is ever going to truly root itself in your child. So you have to create. Home is such a fundamental aspect of of let's say therapy for a child and managing this journey of autism. So I say all of that to state that it is your job to create the culture, the system, the environment that you want to see your child in. And then it becomes easier when this person comes to your home. They are the ones who have to fit into something. It's not you saying, now you see. And the other thing about creating a home culture, which you control, which you know, which everyone is aware of, is should the person be gone? Because we have to also accept that people come and go for different reasons. Not necessarily because they've been mistreating your child or anything, but sometimes people outgrow their work.
That's so true, yes.
And it's time for them to move on to other things. And that's a good thing, right? Someone has come, they've lived with you, they've worked for you, and now they are able maybe to go and further their studies or whatever. But that shouldn't break down your system.
Your system, yes.
Because you've already created a system. So somebody else can come and fit right in.
Yes,
So that's where the onus comes back to us, right? That we are the ones who have to create. You have to embrace it. I think for me, that was something I learned the hard way, again, I say. But when I did, when it finally clicked, I didn't have that whole my son's happiness and or his success is dependent on a particular person. But also my son was able to recognize that I am the mother. I'm the constant. For as long as I am there, God help us.
Amen.
For as long as I am there, then things will be okay. So it didn't affect him so much if Auntie so-and-so has left and now we have a new one. And now there's, it doesn't affect his mental, because they are watching.
That's so true.
And they get attached. And then that changes also affects them. Then you bring a new person and they're like, but me, I'm attached to the other person and we had our own routine and we had our own understanding. And it's usually harder when they are younger. Because when they are younger, it's, they really, really look to this. These are the people that spend the most time with them. It's a matter of fact. We can't even deny it.
It's true.
So they get so clingy and attached to these guys. But that system, that thing is what has kept me sane. So it's okay, come, go, fine. Home has a system. We have a culture. We have, I think another thing I've accepted is that I'm going to have people in my home. I am not a people person. So that took me
time to process.
To adjust because like you've said, and I'll go back to the fact that this is a privilege. It's not something that everybody is able to have. But not one person can do everything you need, especially when you have a system. Because you want everything to be in order and keep rolling on, right? So you can't have the same person doing all the jobs, right? So in order for that to happen, you have to have several people in your home. And that can be hard for some of us who didn't grow up with people at all. So adjusting to the fact that, first of all, because sometimes I think our challenges with the help is the fact that we can't extend that human need of like knowing someone who you don't know has now come into your space and what you have to accept. Like this is what it means to. I've realized that it's not even just about having children with special needs. It's also about being intentional in your parenting. I know that God has taught me a lot of things because I have a child with special needs, but I want to believe that even with neurotypical children, when you're intentional about the way you want to raise your children and the kind of life you want to give them an environment of home, you still need several people to be available to support you. You still need the SAID systems and stuff. So I think that yes, it's important, of course, to be open. And everything that you guys have said is so important. But what it comes down to for me is this is our home. This is our person. We are all aware. This is how we deal. This is should you need any assistance, but this is our home person. They're not going anywhere. Just be open with us. You're not going to get into trouble if anything should happen. We try to manage all those expectations and any incident. It's almost like a handbook. Call number this, should this happen?
I was actually going to say that, leaving all those contacts.
All the contacts that should this happen, call this
this
person. Should this happen, call this other person. and it's like a system, so
That's true.
everyone can use the same
Same
one.
one, yes.
Yeah.
And you also have to create an environment where this nanny or this support is free to come and open up to you
Yeah.
on any challenge or anything they've experienced with the child. Because sometimes there may be some difficult conversations. Let's be honest.
Yes, that's very true.
There may be difficult conversations, especially as our children now transition into teenagers and what.
yes.
Have that openness for them to come and freely tell you, and don't take it too personal. Sometimes you get angry with the person for giving you the message.
I had an incident recently that was similar to that, but the irony is I got upset with my son.
Oh.
So instead I was like, bruv, come and make this right. I was like, so, because it was so important for me that he also knows that this.
I think that's an important point, that when our children have special needs, we tend not to enforce discipline. And then they get away with things we would not let either their siblings or a neurotypical child get away with. So it's very important for us as parents to discipline. And then when we're involved, we know that this is the condition. It's a meltdown, so it's a meltdown. But then also there's bad behavior, and we need to be able to correct the children. And it's what you were saying. We should allow these people to come and tell us the child has done this. And I think what's important there is if we're not allowing them to, they might discipline that child in a wrong way. So we have to give them opportunity to come and tell you, mommy, aunt, this has happened. And then for them to see that you will actually take action. Because you might then, like you said, get angry at them. And so they're like, they'll not tell you, but then they'll discipline the child in their own way.
Because they have to live.
They have to,
find
yes,
a way
to survive in your house. So to avoid that, like you said, your systems, it's part of the system. When this and this happens, tell me and we shall do X. Or give them even a script. If you tell them once or tell them twice, tell them now we're escalating to. Because we've said that just because they have special needs or even they're non-verbal, it does not mean they don't understand. They understand. And they're always pushing boundaries, these children. They'll look to you and do something. So we should know that they also are aware of when. So if you don't correct, they will carry on. So we have to correct them. I think that's very, very important. I'd wanted to say also that in terms of discipline, we should also be careful, I don't know how, but about the people we bring in. So I had this scenario, not for my special needs child, but where I had a nanny who was very, very, very religious, let me use that word, and so would pray. And even start speaking in tongues, Mwanya, they are casting out things in my home. I think we need to also be careful how much liberty we are giving people to start. And especially with special needs children, they will have, much as we all have voices, even them, they'll communicate in their neighborhoods, in their communities, and people tell them, pray for that child or give them this. And they're going to come and say, let us try this, let us pray this, So they might start doing those things to your child. I think it's very important to have conversations with them and say, it cannot be prayed away. It cannot be bound. Do not lay hands, because we have to be careful about those elements around children who are not neurotypical. Because the solutions are a dime a dozen.
And children are impressionable.
They're impressionable, yes.
They see these things and they see because the intent is not always
bad. Yes.
But the intensity of your belief
yes.
can extend to them.
Yes.
Because they can see that, hey, you truly believe that this is the thing. So they also follow along blindly. So we have to protect
them. So I like what you said about having systems and enforcing them. When the person comes, don't expect them to know you enforce your system. And then as a last thing I'd like to offer, for those who can, when you get the help and you see they are good and they are willing, find somebody to teach them. There are occupational therapists who can come at a small fee, spend about 3 hours an afternoon in your home setting and help you to organize and set up the systems that you are. So you can reach out to us at Hannah Center, even AAU. We can always put you in touch with people who can help if you find the right person or the right help, or even if you just want a system to tell you how to work around or build an environment, a system that supports your special needs loved one in that way. Yes.
So ladies, It's a huge topic. I
It
know
is.
if I scratch at certain surfaces, especially in the way you're looking at me, I know where you want to go, but we've run out
Of
of
time.
time. So maybe we can shelve it for another time.
Mm.
I think that's why I like this thing, because we never run out of what to talk about. But let's just pack it here for now.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for constantly tuning in. If you're a first time visitor at our channel, you're very, very welcome. Please subscribe to our page. Please like the content and share it with your friends and anyone who you believe it will be beneficial to. Please do not hesitate to comment and engage with us on our various platforms and the video itself on YouTube. And we shall, like how this topic was purely from your comments, we shall see how we can also make those concerns and issues topics as well. Thank you and see you next time.
Next time.